and routine rotation and resupply missions, RORE, to BRP Sierra Madre may lead to disastrous results.
Magandang araw mga ka-aerial defense, may ibabahagi na naman ako sa inyo dahil ngayong araw na ito ay may bagay tayong pag-uusapan. National Security Council ng Pilipinas nagbigay ng babala sa China matapos mabangga ang barko natin. Pero bago tayo magpatuloy, wag mo muna kalimutan mag-like, share, and subscribe. Paki-follow at like muna ng aming page na nasa description na ang link. Nagbabala ang National Security Council patungkol sa bagong insidenteng naganap sa West Philippine Sea, dahil sa intensyong pagbangga ng China sa mga barko ng Pilipinas doon. Dito nagsalita na ang National Security Council kasama ang iba pang ahensya na involved sa rotation and reprovisioning mission, na magreresulta ito sa mas magulo kapag pinagpatuloy pa ng China ang ganitong gawain.
Yesterday morning, that caused it to collide with the Philippine resupply boat Unaysa May 2, approximately 13.5 nautical miles of BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. We also condemn, in the strongest terms, the same illegal acts by Chinese vessels that caused CMM vessel 0003 to bump PCG MRV 449 while it was lying to approximately 6.4 nautical miles northeast of Ayungin Shoal. As we have repeatedly said in the past, continued Chinese blocking and interference by Chinese vessels with our regular and routine rotation and resupply missions, RORE, to BRP Sierra Madre may lead to disastrous results. While no lives were lost in the collisions yesterday, China's provocative and irresponsible actions have clearly imperiled once again the safety of the Filipino crew. As will be proven later by the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard through photos and videos, these collisions were caused by the dangerous and illegal maneuvers at sea by these Chinese vessels who were interfering with a legal and legitimate Philippine operation in support of BRP Sierra Madre. The Chinese vessels did their reckless and illegal acts with full knowledge that their movements can cause a collision. And this time, our fears happened. We are relieved and thankful that no Filipino personnel were harmed, but we are concerned by the escalation and provocations by Chinese vessels who have no business being in the West Philippine Sea. The China Coast Guard's claim that they were conducting law enforcement activities have no or zero basis whatsoever. Ayungin Shoal is well within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. Therefore, China has no legal authority or basis to enforce anything in those waters and in the entire West Philippine Sea. They also claim that there should be prior notification by the Philippines on any resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal. Again, we ask, why should we do so? Ayungin Shoal is not Hainan Island. Moreover, their claim that their action were professional and legitimate collapses in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. We commend the bravery, professionalism, and dedication to duty of our Philippine Navy and PCG personnel who by their actions represent the best of the country's uniformed services. They do their duty in the face of overwhelming odds. We consider this RORE mission as a partial success because one of our supply boats, Unaysa May 1, succeeded in reaching BRP Sierra Madre and unloading supplies. However, Unaysa May 2 sustained damage as a result of the collision and could not complete its mission. Nonetheless, the Philippines will never be deterred by the provocative actions of China. We will continue to repair, maintain, and sustain our troops in BRP Sierra Madre while said ship is on duty in defense of our sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea. We call on China to stop its provocative actions, act responsibly, and in accordance with international law and UNCLOS, respect the 2016 Arbitral Award, and defend the rules-based international order. Maraming salamat po.
Nagbigay din ng pahayag ang Armed Forces of the Philippines tungkol sa nangyaring insidenteng ito, at dito inisa-isa nila ang buong pangyayari na naghudyat ng banggaan.
Good morning to everybody. I'm here to narrate to you what happened yesterday that led to the collision. Our resupply vessels, Onaisa May 1 and Onaisa May 2, departed Naval Detachment Oyster Bay at Barangay Bahili, Puerto Princesa at around 3 o'clock in the morning. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, these two vessels had monitored through visual the presence of People's Liberation Army Navy vessel BN-631. At around 3:10 in the afternoon, following immediately after the sighting, the shadowing of the PLA Navy started with our resupply vessels. At around 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday, we have monitored the presence of at least 5 Coast Guard vessels, Chinese Coast Guard vessels, 16 Chinese fishing vessels, also maritime militia, and at least 2 PLA Navy vessels. They were already in a position to obstruct the RORE mission of our vessels. At 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, China Coast Guard 5203 and 1 maritime militia maneuvered en route to the position of UM-2 and MRRV 4409. And they were able to separate our resupply vessel from the escorting PCT vessel. At around 6:04, 5 China Coast Guard vessel 5203 and a maritime militia shadowed and harassed Onaisa May 2 to the point of restricting its movement. And then the collision happened at around 6:08 in the morning. Now let me show you a video of how the collision took place. Paki-play na lang yan kasi para at least makita nila kung ano yung nilagay. Picture yan. Play, yes. Okay, this will show now the direction of the vessels that were involved in the collision. Please, paki-click lang at para lumabas yung animation. That is considering the position, the speed of the vessels involved. As you can see, Onaisa May 2 did not change its course in proceeding to the objective of providing the resupply to our BRP Sierra Madre. But far from behind, China Coast Guard maneuvered to its port side, from its starboard side to its port side, while there is a maritime militia standby there that is actually restricting the movement of our resupply vessel. So it forced, actually, what we can see here is a reckless maneuver on the part of China, knowing very well that a collision might take place because of that. So starting at 0700 or 7 o'clock in the morning after the collision incident, 2 maritime militia vessels were monitored conducting close quarter maneuvers and positioned themselves on port and starboard side, or meaning on the left and the right side of the Onaisa May 2, while 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels were tailing UM-2 to prevent its movement and to obstruct its resupply mission. It is also noteworthy to know that at around 0740, the UM-1 was able to enter or to reach the northeast entrance of the Ayungin Shoal and moored at the port side of BRP Sierra Madre at around 0800. So the all those supplies that were loaded in that vessel was unloaded to the BRP Sierra Madre. Let me now summarize what happened yesterday in 2 points. Number one, our troops, I'm referring to the crew of Unaisame 1 and Unaisame 2, have a mission to accomplish, and they did it in a manner that is professional and legal. They deserve our salute and the support of the Filipino people. Number two, what the Chinese vessels did is illegal and irresponsible. Illegal in the sense that their presence in our EEC is not authorized based on UNCLOS and on the arbitral award. And that their actions yesterday were in violations of the Convention on International Regulations for Preventing Collision at Sea, or coral rights. It is irresponsible because they acted recklessly, knowing very well the high probability of collision, which will put the lives of people in danger. Let our people know, and the rest of the world, that this incident will not deter us from doing what is right, what is for the benefit of our people, and what will support and strengthen the rules-based international order. No unlawful force could soften our firm resolve. Thank you.
Nagbigay din ang Philippine Coast Guard ng kanilang side ukol sa nangyaring insidente, kung saan isa nga sa barko nila ang binangga sa West Philippine Sea. Ipinakita ng Philippine Coast Guard ang mga nakalap na video at litrato ng ating mga sundalo sa West Philippine Sea, na nagpapakita kung paano harasin ng China ang mga tropa natin doon. Ipinakita din ng PCG ang naging resulta ng pagbangga sa isa sa kanilang barko na nagsanhi ng pagkasira ng hull nito, kaya pinag-aaralan pa ngayon kung madedeploy ulit ang nasabing barko.
Coast Guard, I'll be discussing to you the details of the operation that we did yesterday in support of the resupply mission of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Let me reiterate that the resupply operation that we just concluded is purely an Armed Forces of the Philippines mission, and that the role of the Philippine Coast Guard is only to provide security escort. These are the Philippine vessels during the resupply operation. For the Philippine Coast Guard vessels, our new commandant, Admiral Ronhil Gaban, have committed 2 MRV 44-meter vessels to provide security escort to the 2 chartered indigenous boats of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. It is BRP Sendangan, MRV 4407, BRP Cabra, or MRV 4409. As you can see, for these 2 vessels, the intention is that for each indigenous boat, there will be a Philippine Coast Guard vessel that will ensure the safety and security of each chartered vessel. This is the operational area of the supply operation for the Philippine Coast Guard. We came from Point C, that is the Buliluyan port. Our Coast Guard vessels, together with our embedded media friends, departed last 21 October around 11 a.m. To proceed to Point B, which is Sabina Shoal or Escoda Shoal. The staging area is actually our rendezvous point for the charter boats. And then immediately after the arrival of Unaisame 1 and Unaisame 2, that will be the time that the 2 Philippine Coast Guard vessels will also depart from Sabina going to Ayungin Shoal. This is the damage that was sustained by BRP Cabra from its 4th quarter. The same thing, we have yet to evaluate the damage that we incurred because of the collision that we had with the Chinese maritime militia vessel. As you can see, it is that thick. It is not as something that we can say that's just a scratch on the paint. No? Malalim po yung tama niya. So we're still going to evaluate how it affected the integrity of the hull of our vessel. From the video that I showed you, it appears that we are free from harassment of the Chinese Coast Guard vessels. But this is actually the photo. You have 2 moored alongside with MRV 4409. You also have MRV 4407. And Ayungin Shoal is on the left side. No? So it goes to show that all of the Chinese maritime militia are spread out together with the 4 China Coast Guard vessels to make sure that the Philippine Coast Guard vessels and Unaiza May 2 will be prevented from pursuing its supply operation. Around 11:54 in the morning, Unaiza May 1 has already reached the location of the 2 Philippine Coast Guard vessels together with UM2. That's the time that some of the crew of Unaiza May was decided to be transferred to the Philippine Coast Guard vessels for safety reason. Because, as I said, we haven't really evaluated yet the structural damage that Unaiza May 2 incurred because of the collision. So, as a matter of safety measure, the crew, some of the crew of Unaiza May, and of course those media friends that were embedded in this particular mission was transferred to the Philippine Coast Guard. As early as 9 p.m., a day before the resupply operation, we have already monitored the presence of China Coast Guard Vessel 4301, wherein it is already shadowing BRP Cabra, even before the Unaiza May boats have arrived. In this particular video, you can see Chinese maritime militia vessel already doing close maneuver toward MRV 4407 and Unaiza May 1. So as early as 5:55 in the morning, we can already monitor a lot of Chinese maritime militia vessels within the vicinity of Sabina Shoal. It will be shown later how this Chinese maritime militia participated in blocking the Philippine Coast Guard vessels. This particular video showed, this is actually the reason why BRP Cabra is separated from UM2. As you can see, this happened around 6:06 in the morning based on our record. At 6:06, the Unaiza May 2, the one that was that collided with the China Coast Guard vessel, has already been separated from BRP Cabra, which happened around 6:08 from our record. So some of you might be wondering why Unaiza May, the one that was that collided from the China Coast Guard vessel, is independent. No, it's not supported by Philippine Coast Guard vessel. This is actually the reason. It's because BRP Cabra was already corralled by the 2 Chinese maritime militia vessels, and it is surprising that the Chinese maritime militia is even bigger than the Philippine Coast Guard vessel, also supported by the China Coast Guard vessel. So from the photo that was shown a while ago by Colonel Aguilar, you can see that the Coast Guard is a bit far off, no, from the Unaiza May when it was it collided from the China Coast Guard vessel. It's because this was the particular incident that is happening. We are trapped by the 2 Chinese maritime militia as they pursue the Unaiza May from proceeding to Ayungin Shoal. Around 6:08, which is like 2 minutes right after we were trapped by the 2 Chinese maritime militia and China's Coast Guard vessel. This video was already shown by Colonel Vidal a while ago. Same time, around 6:05, in the case of MRV 4407 and Unaiza May 1, the Chinese Coast Guard 21551 is also doing the same thing. It attempted to separate the MRV 4407 and UM1 from being escorted, as you can see from this video. So with the past 3 videos that I showed you, we can actually conclude that the Chinese Coast Guard's original intention is to separate the Philippine Coast Guard vessel from the escorted indigenous boats. So if you're still wondering where is the Philippine Coast Guard BRP Cabra, MRB 4409, why it hasn't reached yet the location of UM2, this is the condition of BRP Cabra. In short, the BRP Cabra is surrounded by Chinese maritime militia vessels and 2 China Coast Guard vessels. That's why it wasn't able to reach UM2 to provide assistance and to also evaluate the structural damage that it incurred from the collision.
Para sa mas madaming update tungkol sa ating defense, abangan lamang ang aking mga bagong video. Para naman sa mga gusto magpa-shoutout, mag-comment lamang po at share, paki-follow at like muna ng aming page na nasa description na ang link. Pwede ka ring manalo ng pera or load dito kapag ikaw ay naging top fan nito at napili. Huwag mo na rin kalimutan mag-like, share, and subscribe. Pindutin mo na rin ang bell para updated kayo sa aking mga video. Maraming salamat po.